Hello and welcome once again to the video. Continuing my simple look at the Formula One World Championship of 2024. Just from a fan's perspective, nothing too technical. And this, of course, was a very interesting race for one big, obvious reason, which I'll go into in a moment. But first, let's do what I normally do, which is to write down the finishing order down here, and then the top 10 in the Drivers' Championship, and then the top 10 in the rundown, basically, of the 10 teams in the Constructors' Championship. Okay, let's go. So, of course, this was round 2. Where was it? Saudi Arabia. Jeddah. Okay, so let's go. Verstappen. Perez. Leclerc. Let's just make sure that's in focus. Okay. Piastri. Alonso. Russell. Bearman. Norris. Hamilton. Hulkenberg. Albon. Magnussen. Ocon. Sargent. Tsunoda. Ricardo. Bottas. Joe. Stroll. Gasly. Okay, so top 10 in the Constructors, in the Drivers' Championship. It's 51 points. 36. Let's make sure that's focused. Okay. Third. Leclerc, 28. Russell, 18. Piastri, 16. Sainz, 15. Alonso, 12. so now the Constructors' Championship. Redbull 87. Ferrari 49. McLaren 28. Mercedes 26. Aston Martin 13. S1. Williams 0. Sauber 0. RB 0. Alpine 0. Okay. So let's just have a little drink. Okay. It's just my usual ginger tea. I don't drink normal tea. You know, your PG tips with your milk and sugar, that sort of thing. I don't drink normal tea. Not because I dislike it, but it doesn't do anything for me. I don't particularly like it. So I don't drink coffee, and that is because I do not like it. But I do drink sort of ginger tea because it always feels nice on the throat. So I suppose I drink it for medicinal reasons. Anyway, I'm just not a tea or coffee drinker, but I do like hot chocolate. Can't drink that all the time though. Okay, so Oliver Bearman, amazing. I've been following Oliver Bearman in F2 over the last, I think he's been in F2 for a couple of years now, and he's won the odd race. He's never threatened the championship, but he's in F2. He's been one of those drivers that will pick up a couple of wins during the season. He had, is it Piastri he had as his teammate? Was it last year or the year before he had Piastri as his teammate? Maybe last year. I think Piastri has gone into IndyCar, hasn't he? I think, maybe. Anyway, Vesti, sorry, not Piastri, Vesti. I can't remember his first name. Nearly won the championship. Don't think he won the championship last year, did he? F2? Pretty sure he didn't. Pourchaire won it, didn't he? Did Pourchaire win it last year? Anyway, Bearman is good, solid driver, sort of top 6 championship material in F2, winning the odd race. And of course, this year he has the very well thought of Andrea Kimi Antonelli as his teammate, who I think is even younger than Bearman. And that's a guy that's somewhat tipped to take the Mercedes seat next year. I don't think that'll happen because I think if he thrashed everyone in F2 this year, that would happen. But what team are they in? Bearman and Antonelli in F2. Guys, one of the top teams. It's not ART. It'll come to me anyway. But they didn't do very well in the first race. I haven't watched the F2 races from Saudi Arabia yet. Bearman, of course, is not represented because he was in the F1 race, but hopefully his team have sorted out their issues that they very much so had in Bahrain. But anyway, Bearman hasn't shone brightly, particularly brightly. He's not been like Leclerc or Norris or Russell or Hamilton. He's not shone like them, I don't think, in F2, but he has still shown himself to be good. But his performance this weekend was fantastic, coming in at P3 for practice session 3, and then doing qualifying, finishing 11th in qualifying, and then 7th in the race. Fantastic performance. He was never lower than his qualifying position. Well, actually, one point he was 12th, but that's just because a couple of guys ahead of him hadn't stopped for tyres. But fantastic performance. The interesting thing is, of course, next year we were supposed to be seeing a British driver drive a Ferrari F1 car for the first time in 35 years. Because we don't count Eddie Irvine, because he's a citizen of the United Kingdom, being Northern Irish, not actually British. Although I do think he did fly under the Union flag. But technically he's not British. So yeah, 35 years since Nigel Mansell in 1990. But instead, when Hamilton gets in that Ferrari next year, instead of being 35 years since the last British driver in a Ferrari, it'll instead be about 11 months. So that statistic has been ripped away from Hamilton this weekend by Oliver Bearman. Fantastic. The youngest ever British rookie and the third youngest ever rookie from any country. The youngest being Verstappen, the second youngest being, was it Alonso? I can't quite remember the second youngest, but certainly the youngest was Verstappen. Bearman's the third youngest. Incredible. It's difficult actually for me to focus on the rest of the race. Verstappen was obviously on pole position. I'll just write down that Leclerc got the fastest lap. On the last lap, despite having hard tyres. Hamilton and Norris, who both had soft tyres at the end. Hamilton and Joe had soft tyres at the end as well, right at the very end. But Hamilton did have the fastest lap in the last few laps due to being on softs, but then Leclerc took that lap away on the hards, which was quite something. So what do they all start on? Bearman and Bottas both started on softs. I think that was to give Bearman as much grip as possible at the start, to help him at the start. I don't know why Bottas started on softs, but everybody else was on mediums. And then, of course, we had Stroll's unfortunate clipping of the wall. Easily done. Verstappen did it in a couple of years ago, or 3 years ago, in 2021, during qualifying. Unfortunately for Stroll, he's done it twice this weekend, on this particular weekend, so that's not great. But it's such a tough circuit, Saudi Arabia. It's just, it makes me nervous just racing in the F1 PC game, F1 23. So it is a particularly scary track, and I'm just so impressed and so amazed that these drivers are able to, no matter how difficult they make these circuits, these drivers still adjust. They learn the circuit, and then they're on it flat out, lap after lap. It's incredible. Most of the time, not making any mistakes. That caused a lot of interest because we had 4 drivers that stayed out on their mediums: Hamilton, Norris, Hülkenberg and Joe. Which meant that Norris was actually leading the race for a short time. Everybody else stopped and went on to hards. So Bearman, who wasn't really able to make use of his soft tyres in the first 10 laps, he was able to get rid of them and go onto the hards along with everybody else when the safety car came out. And it was on the restart, not long after the restart, I don't think immediately, maybe a lap after the restart, that Bearman did his first overtake in Formula 1, apart from the jostling at the start. And that was on Tsunoda. That was actually missed by the commentary team at the time. And when they did pick up on it, they actually thought he'd only just done it. But he hadn't. He'd done it a couple of laps previously. But anyway, that was his first overtaking manoeuvre on Tsunoda. That was great. But there was lots of overtaking due to the different strategy that Hamilton, Norris, Hülkenberg and Zhou were on. They gradually all got overtaken. Of course, the Red Bulls came through back into first and second. It did provide interest, especially Hamilton holding off Piastri for so long. Piastri got past twice, I think, before eventually Hamilton stopped. There was one unusual thing that Lewis mentioned, that everybody else around him was so much quicker in the high-speed corners, which they clearly were. You could see how much quicker Norris was than Lewis when they were fighting towards the end. But strangely, the team replied with something I've not heard before. They said, "Copy that, Lewis. GPS agrees." I assume that's Global Positioning Satellite, but I've never heard a team to refer to what the GPS is showing. I thought that was a bit odd, a bit strange. But anyway, so yeah, Verstappen and Perez put in a good performance, I would say, today. Yeah, I'd say he did a very good performance. He only finished about, was it 9 seconds behind Verstappen? He had a 5-second penalty added on, time penalty, but he was basically within spitting distance of Verstappen. Maybe Verstappen could have gone quicker had Perez closed, but still, I think that was all right. And Perez seems quite happy, but I think that is because, as I've said before, as I was saying last year, he's resigned himself to not being in Verstappen's league. So I think he's come to terms with that. He's more relaxed now. You see that often with drivers. At first, they're super stressed because they're thinking, they go, as soon as they join a team and they have a new teammate, they think, right, well, obviously I can beat this teammate because I can beat everybody. And it takes a while before they realise that other driver is a lot better. And Perez has been stressing himself out, trying to prove that he's just as good as Verstappen. But I feel that he has definitely conceded to Verstappen now. And so therefore he's quite willing to applaud him on the top step of the podium and smile and congratulate him. But it is a pretty dead job, isn't it? Finishing second behind Verstappen all the time. The team want him to finish second all the time. Although, having said that, of course, if Perez came out of the blocks at the start of this season and was much faster than Verstappen, the team would fully support Perez, of course. They're just supporting whoever is quickest. But of course, they know that Verstappen's going to be quickest, and he already is. The first 2 races, of course. So they will just want Perez to trail around behind Verstappen, picking up second places. Whereas every other driver on the track, the team are wanting them to win and win the championship. Perez, just like Eddie Irvine and Rubens Barrichello, when they were both teammates to Michael Schumacher, those drivers were expected to come second. That's their target. Come second every race behind Michael Schumacher. And that's a terrible position to be in. But then again, you don't want to lose out on being in a top team, which is what Eddie Irvine used to say. He used to say, I'd rather be second in a top team than 10th in another team. Piastri, very good performance. He couldn't get past Hamilton on Hamilton's old mediums. But still, once Hamilton stopped, Piastri put in a very good performance. Leclerc was solid again, another 3rd place. It reminds me, these first 2 races remind me of 1988, when the McLarens were coming 1st and 2nd all the time, and Berger in the Ferrari was always picking up 3rd place all the time, always quicker than his teammate Alboreto. But yeah, Berger in the Ferrari, third, constantly behind the 2 McLarens. And so far, that's what's happened this year, of course, in the first 2 races. Alonso, much better than Bahrain, although still way off the pace. of the leaders, but a solid position nonetheless, which is good. Russell, yeah, he had a split strategy with Hamilton staying out on the mediums and Russell coming in on the hards. Bearman, yeah, as we said, fantastic performance. I don't know how he didn't hit the wall. I thought he would hit the wall at some point during the race, but he didn't. Norris has pretty much said that he reckons it was a bad choice to not come in and change onto hards, and he expected the softs to be a lot faster at the end of the race, but they went off so quick after a couple of laps they were already gone, which is why Norris and Hamilton were not able to close the final couple of seconds to Bearman. Hulkenberg, oh, this is the other big story, of course, the big effort that Magnussen put in holding up so many cars. Deliberately driving slowly, or at least not using his aids like ERS, the energy recovery system. Not using that throughout the lap, not using his battery throughout the lap until the main straight, when he would use up all his battery power, holding off the cars behind him. And he did that so that Hulkenberg, who was one of those that hadn't stopped under the full safety car, yeah, but did I call the safety car a yellow flag earlier? I can't remember. It suddenly popped into my head that I did, but I don't think I did. Anyway, when I pause like that, I always think it's good to explain why I've paused, basically. Anyway, yeah, Hulkenberg basically got that 10th place because Magnussen behind him had created such a big gap to Hulkenberg that he was able to come in eventually, go on to, I assume he went onto softs, I'm not sure, and then hold on to the 10th place. Magnussen would have been 11th had he not had his penalties. I don't understand why Magnussen is as high up as 12th. He had 22nd. He had two 10-second penalties, and yet he only dropped one place to Albon. And I thought all these cars were close together. I'll have to review that again. It's not particularly important, but it's I just thought it'd be a bit lower down after his penalties were implemented. Ocon, fantastic result by Alpine to come 13th with one of their cars. Gasly, I don't know what happened to Gasly. He went out even before Stroll, but I'm not actually sure. I don't remember what happened to Gasly at all. Joe, yeah, that strategy didn't work for him, not stopping. Bottas way down as well. Yeah, don't know what's going on there. Tsunoda and Ricciardo, who apparently are best buds now. They've made up after Bahrain. They're the best of friends again now. They're such happy, friendly, approachable, cheerful people off the track that it's very strange to think of them as having a problem, on the track or off the track. Sargent, yeah, see Albon, I've said before, Albon always finishes either 7th or 11th. Well, there you go. At last I've been proven right. But Sargent, once again, distanced to Albon. I don't think Sargent will be in the Williams next year. There are only 7 drivers in the field that have contracts already for next year. See if I can remember who they are. I think it's Verstappen, Leclerc, Hamilton, Piastri, Norris, Russell and Stroll. I think I've got that right, actually. Yeah, those 7 drivers. So, worryingly for him, Perez has not got a contract. That'd be great to see. Perez has had his chance. Let's put another driver in there, see if another one can actually threaten Verstappen. But I think they'll keep Perez. As long as he keeps racking up second places, they don't care if he doesn't challenge Verstappen. We want that second driver to challenge Verstappen, but Red Bull don't. So I think they'll keep Perez. So what other things have I got on my notes here? Yeah, so Magnussen did a fantastic job holding up all those cars for Hulkenberg. Hamilton and Piastri, that was fun to watch. Hamilton and Norris, when they came in on for their softs, it was lap 37 for Hamilton and lap 38 for Norris. So they only had sort of 13 and 12 laps respectively to go to the finish. That's why they went on to softs and not hards. They couldn't go on to mediums, of course, because they had already used mediums. They have to use 2 different compounds. But yeah, so fantastic performance by Bearman. It's the first time since Japan 2000 that 4 drivers from the United Kingdom have been in the top 10. You can't say in the points because back in 2000 it was only the top 6 that were scoring points. But you can say the top 10. I'm saying UK because, of course, one of those drivers is Eddie Irvine. So Eddie Irvine, David Coulthard, Jenson Button and Johnny Herbert. Those 4 citizens of the United Kingdom finished in the top 10 in Japan 2000. That's the last time that's happened because, of course, we had Russell, Bearman, Norris and Hamilton. The 4 Brits all line astern. Bearman, Norris and Hamilton finished close together. Russell was a further sort of 5-6 seconds further up the road. So championship. I think, look at that, Bearman is in the top 10. He's not going to stay there, of course, but he's in the top 10 in the championship. Hamilton, 8 points from 2 races. This is worse than the last 2 seasons, even though the Mercedes is an easier car to drive and work with and upgrade and everything this year. They haven't tried to upgrade it yet, but it's supposed to be an easier car to deal with, both for the team and the drivers this year. But a lot less points for Hamilton than in either 2022 or 2023. Norris, well, that's better than last year. It took him 8 races to get to 12 points last year, and then he exploded, of course, up after the upgrades. So he's got there quicker, but I think this is still very disappointing. 8th place in the championship, and Alonso as well. Sainz, well, he's missed a race, so we can forgive him for that. Now, I said that Sainz and Hamilton would be on fire this year, didn't I? Hamilton, yeah, not quite, basically, for Hamilton. He's not, is he? I think that's down to him just not clicking with the car, as I think he's admitted after Bahrain, unlike Russell, who's adjusted better to the car, quicker to the car. I'm sure that if Hamilton can get to grips with the car and that the car improves, that fire will light underneath Hamilton, I'm sure. But I think he's a bit deflated. He should be looking forward to next year, though. I think Russell should be more deflated because he's continuing at Mercedes next year. Yeah, and Sainz, I still think the fire is underneath him. Yeah, it's a very strong 3rd place in Bahrain, despite Leclerc's problems, yes, but still a very good 3rd. Actually, Leclerc, Sainz was, I got that wrong, didn't I? I said that Leclerc was 3rd. He was 4th, of course, wasn't he, in Bahrain? Not 3rd. Sorry about that. So he's not quite like Berger from 1988. But it is in a way because it's a Ferrari in 3rd place in the first 2 races behind the dominant team. But yeah, so solid start for Leclerc. But, in 2022, he was, of course, challenging for the championship. So way out in front after 3 races he was. Perez will be happy with that. It's a good supporting role. He knows the team will be happy. But, will he be happy with that? He seems happy, but I don't know. And, of course, in the Constructors, you've got a definite line. You've got the top 5 massively. I know we've had that in the last couple of years, but it's even more so this year, specifically this year. Look at that, just 1 point scored by the bottom 5 teams. As the new guy at the new team principal at Haas, was it Komatsu? Is that his name? He said after the race that this is like a win because you've got 5 teams that in theory should take all 10 points point-paying positions. So the other 5 teams are scrapping around to see who can finish 11th, and if they're lucky, 10th or 9th. So he's very happy that they've managed to do that. Best of the rest. It's like a win. Because this is like a second championship, these 5 teams, which will be very disappointing for Alpine, of course. They think they should be up here, Alpine. But yeah, it's very similar to last year. It's just very, very similar. I said after Bahrain that it just feels like an extra race in the 2023 championship, and of course that feeling is exaggerated even more so, not just because of the results, but because all the drivers and all the teams are exactly the same for the first time ever. So, but next year, everything's changing next year. So many places up for grabs in the teams. So many people are not in contract at the moment. Hamilton at Ferrari. It's going to be totally different. Bearman will obviously be racing next year. And one of those seats, he's coming at just the right time because there are so many seats coming up for grabs next year. Anyway, thank you for watching and thank you for listening. If you'd like to subscribe, please do so, or leave a comment, or leave a like, or even give a tip on the thanks button just below the video. But the main thing is, thank you for watching. That is the main thing. And I will see you in the very next video, hopefully. So, it's goodbye for now.